Welcome Summoners! It's time for a new patch and a new rundown. My name is Bot and patch 2.3b is around the corner and Ruination awaits. So let's not stall for too long and get straight into it. A banger right at the start. The Sentinels of Light event officially starts on the 9th of July at 1 minute after midnight UTC, and we got a lot coming our way. The black mist engulfs everything around us and we need to protect the fading light, so make sure to join the Sentinels to stop the Ruination. With the event we are also getting 2 new champions that will shake up the rift. The first one is Lucian, the Purifier. Back in his early days in the League of Legends PC version, he used to be played as a dragon laner. Over the time though, he's left that position and claimed his throne on the middle lane. But why is an ADC played in mid? As Lucian's kit allows him to play super aggressively, he can bully enemies out of lane super easily and put them into a very bad spot. In addition to that, he has high kill pressure at all times and the only things stopping him are usually his own mistakes and a severe jungle differential. For those unfamiliar with this kit, here's a quick rundown. After using an ability, Lucian's passive, Lightslinger, empowers his next auto attack to strike twice. His first ability is called Piercing Light, and as you might guess, casting it shoots out a bolt of piercing light through an enemy unit, dealing damage to all enemies in that line. It's a great tool to poke the enemy without exposing yourself to risk. To add to his rundown potential, he also has a spell called Ardent Blaze. Casting it fires a shot that explodes upon contact or reaching the end of its path. Taking into account that Lucian is a spell-weaving ADC that loves to min-max every single attack he can go for, granting him a short-range dash almost feels natural. With the power of his third ability, Relentless Pursuit, he has all the tools he needs to go in and rack up some fancy kills in lane. If that wasn't enough already, he's also got a crazy ultimate in terms of raw DPS. Upon casting it, Lucian starts firing rapidly in a single direction and that hurts. You don't want to get hit by that. Before we continue with today's video, make sure to check out our Discord in the description below. Regular events, giveaways and an interactive community are waiting for you. So what are you waiting for? The next champion that releases is Senna, the Redeemer, also known as Lucian's wife. In the PC version of League of Legends, even though she's kind of an ADC, she's been played as a support with a certain strategy. Senna is an infinitely scaling character thanks to her passive. Enemy minions, monsters and champions that die close to her spawn mist wraiths. Collecting them grants gold and stats to Senna. Dealing the last hit on a minion has a lower chance of spawning a soul than being close to it dying while an ally secures the last hit. Therefore you might say she's a carry, but one that doesn't farm. Sounds weird, right? Upon reaching certain milestones of her passive, meaning collecting enough mist wraiths, Senna is granted even more stats. In addition to that, her basic attacks can sap a soul from an enemy with a low cooldown while inflicting bonus physical damage. While doing so, she also gains bonus movement speed due to her slow attack animation. Piercing Darkness fundamentally functions the same as Lucian's first ability with a few slight changes. It deals damage to enemies while healing allies and it can be cast on any unit, be a tower, ally or even a ward. You can do some fancy snaps with that. As she's a very mobile character that really depends on good positioning, she has 2 tools in her kit that allow her to go a bit more aggressive. Last Embrace is a skill shot that flies in a direct line and upon hitting an enemy it roots the area around them after a brief delay. However, if the unit is killed with that ability, it will root instantly. The other tool is the Curse of the Black Mist. While active, Senna surrounds herself with an aura of mist and becomes camouflaged. All allies who enter this aura also gain its effects. In addition to that, once an ally leaves the mist while it's still active, he will be shown as a mist wraith. So you can never know who you're currently looking at until the player decides to break the spell by making an offensive move. Last but not least comes her global ultimate, Dawning Shadow. It's an insane tool to influence the entire map as well as carrying a teamfight on your own. This spell consists of 2 parts, the inner and the outer part. Enemies caught in the inner part will receive damage while allies will receive a shield from the broader part. Alright, let's take a very small break for our question of the day. Who's your favorite and who are you most interested in, Lucian or Senna, and why? Let us know in the comments below. Now that we've got the new champions out of the way, let's talk about buffs, and we have a few in this patch. First up on the list comes Draven. Even though he's an insane champion once you've mastered his trading patterns and gotten used to his aggressive playstyle, he still received buffs to 2 of his abilities. Increasing the movement speed of his second ability and lowering the cooldown of his third ability in one go is a strong statement. Draven mains look out, you are in for some free LP. Another big buff is coming Irelia's way. She'll receive an increased mana regen and changes to her first, third and ultimate ability. That's quite a lot of buffs. Blaze Surge will see an increase in damage and healing, granting Irelia more in-combat sustain as she's a champion balanced around her countless dashes. Another damage increase that's not too shabby by the way is a direct buff of 30 damage to her Flawless Duet. That's insane. Not only that, but also her ultimate ability is getting hefty buffs. As Irelia received a ton of buffs already, it's a smarter choice to delay the power creep of her ultimate by not directly buffing both parts on its first rank. Nonetheless, this will make Irelia a very scary champion, especially if the target logic behind her first spell is improved as well. As it stands, it's very demanding in a mechanical sense, and every mistake will lead to a vast loss in damage, hence the pain for a lot of Irelia players. The next champion on the buff list is Riven. Why exactly are we buffing her again? We've been here way too many times on the PC version and it always ended the same way. Riven absolutely stomping everything in her way without any hope of recovery. But for now we're getting a plus 10 shield value buff on her third ability that looks more like a placebo buff for now, but we'll see how it goes. Riven is and will remain a champion that becomes stronger the better the player piloting her is. Another interesting change is coming to a dragon laner. Vayne has been struggling in lane a lot and received some compensation buffs to her second and ultimate ability. It won't make up for issues in lane, but it will definitely help her out a bit. For some reason our little Armordillo lost some attack speed on his third ability as Riot perceived him as too strong in early ganking. We don't really agree, but well, it is what it is. A nerf we agreed to though is the change to Fizz in the jungle. He's become an insane pick for the jungle role and definitely needed fine-tuning to put him back into place. Another welcome change is a damage reduction to Kha'Zix's first ability. It doesn't look like it's a lot, but given that it increases with isolation, it's more than welcome. The most demanded change probably comes in the form of Garen. This guy just doesn't die and kills you anyway. As a consequence, Riot is trying to shift his ability to build purely defensive into a more bruiser-orientated build path. To make this happen, Riot is granting Garen increased AD scalings while decreasing his base values at the same time. To be honest, those numbers don't look like they are enough, but they represent a step into the right direction. Riot has been trying to push AD mid laners back into the meta for some time. By nerfing Katarina's, Twisted Fates and Ziggs base armor by 5, they are trying to offer more counterplay to those champions. However, if they really want to push AD mids back into the game, they should consider buffing Serrated Dirk to league PC values though. Overall, it feels more like a placebo nerf for those three. The last champion nerf is going to hit Jinx. Don't worry, it's not going to impact her damage to champions or anything like that. They are just lowering her ult's AoE damage to monsters. Otherwise, you could see a Jinx easily steal big objectives due to her missing HP bonus damage, and that wouldn't really be fair. The only change in the rune department we are going to see is a nerf to Second Wind. Yeah, that was to be expected. The rune was too potent and there was little reason for any melee character to take another rune. For the ARAM fans among you, we also got some incoming changes. Here's the list. To bring you information even faster, we're combining the high elo tier list and the patch rundown from now on. So let's get started. Fiora remains the undisputed queen in the Baron lane. As a champion, she can safely be blind picked without any worry in the world. It all comes down to how good the player piloting her is, especially when it comes to her most broken ability, Riposte. With that, she can deny every single debuff in the game if timed correctly or simply getting a bit lucky. One of the few champions that can be annoying to deal with though is Garen, and luckily for her, his base damage was hit this patch. With that, his full tank build loses a bit of power and offers Fiora even better windows to play into. Here's our full Baron lane tier list. Evelynn is still an absolute powerhouse when it comes to scaling in Wild Rift. The recent changes to her ultimate made her a bit less oppressive when it comes to stealing objectives, but other than that, she's still rocking the Rift. On that note, the mana regen changes for junglers really helped her out, making her a true menace to deal with. But we still got no changes to stealth, by the way. Another abnormation of the jungle is yet to be nerfed. Lee Sin has been dominating solo queue for a long time already, and he's not going to stop anytime soon. If this champion is allowed to snowball ahead, you're in for a really bad time. With him being allowed to permanently gank thanks to growth XP and local gold, it just feels overbearing and unfair to play against. Here's our full jungle tier list. Irelia has received a lot of buffs this patch, while other mid laners lost a bit of armor. On paper, that isn't really a lot when it comes to losing base stats, but combining that with the buffs to Irelia, we are ready for some crazy plays. Stay tuned to see more of Irelia in the upcoming patch, although it will take people a lot of mechanical skill and expertise to pilot this champ to her full potential. Another absolute bully comes in the form of Lucian. On the PC version of League, he's infamous for destroying his opposition with little room for counterplay. Similar to Irelia though, it most likely depends on the player's ability to play around the champion's kit and ways to really make him shine. Nevertheless, it's going to be a wild ride for mid laners, yet again taking into account that they are also losing some flat armor on top. Scary times? We'll see. Here's our full mid lane tier list. If there was a champion that didn't really need buffs, it would be Draven. He already has insane amounts of damage and it's just a nightmare to face him in lane. Buffing 2 of his abilities can become sketchy real fast and should be monitored quite closely. As of right now, a lot of players are kind of sleeping on Draven as he's mostly played by hard one-tricks or mains, which could potentially come from the fact that Draven plays differently than any other ADCs. Pushing forward, going in and cashing in are his favorite actions in the League of Draven. Also, hey Kai'Sa players, watch out because you're on his list. Here's our full Dragon Lane tier list. Last but not least comes a new champion to the support role, Senna. On the PC version of League, she's primarily played with the fasting strategy. She's not your usual support as she's dealing a lot of damage with her auto attacks. You might even say she's an infinitely scaling hyper carry. But to increase the speed of her scaling, she's not going to touch the CS. Why, you might ask? If someone close to her farms those creeps, her passive ability has an increased chance of spawning ghosts she may collect. The more ghosts, the faster she hits breakpoints and becomes obnoxious to deal with. Especially in the context of having local gold plus wraiths, this can really snowball out of control. Be afraid, summoners, Ruination is out to get you. That's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel to never miss anything Wild Rift ever again. Peace and until next time.